I always strive to be, for lack of a better term, the dumbest person in the room. Because if I'm the dumbest person in the room, we got a room.
What's good? I'm Nikisha Elise Williams, and this is Black and Published, bringing you the journeys of writers, poets, playwrights, and storytellers of all kinds. Today's guest is Rahman Johnson, an all-around Renaissance man. Rahman is a journalist, actor, academic, and poet. He wrote the collection Living, Loving, Letting Go. On this episode, Rahman explains what caring for his mother through her cancer battle taught him about how to live his own life.
I remember, mom died. Like I said, she died in my arms on this Sunday. And so she was like, hey, I need to go to the restroom. Cool, let's get up. We had a little system. 1, 2, 3, and we stand. And literally she's looking at me. I will never forget this moment. And I say 1, 2, to go up on 3. And then she just looked at me and she was dead weight. She was gone.
Losing his mother sparked a monumental shift in Rahman's life. But he says at his core, he will always be the same. We discuss why he carries the Southern Black and African diasporic tradition everywhere he goes. The advice he was given in high school that guided him to publish his poetry collection. Plus, the one change he would make to Terry McMillan's classic novel, Waiting to Exhale. When Black and Published continues. All right, so first question, when did you know that you were a writer?
I didn't fully embrace it, the writing creatively, until my senior year in high school. I was in AP Lit and Comp. Mrs. Helen D. McAfee was my instructor. And she gave me this one rule: if you can justify it, it's correct. Mm-hmm. So in her class, there were no wrong answers. There were no right or wrong. There was no good or bad. It was like, justify what you're talking about and I'll accept it. That one statement gave me the freedom to be creative.
Okay, so then what did that statement do for you as you went forward to Edward Waters and Seton and to your career in television and media and acting and Broadway? Like, how did that one statement from your AP Lit and Comp class carry you through?
It was confidence. It was freedom. It reminded me to have a reason for everything you do. Well, that translated into life, right? For me as a journalist, one of the things I did as an anchor before I would even do a story, and what I can embrace as being a storyteller, I wasn't that guy that was going to go to tell the story and just look at what's on the teleprompter or look at what someone told me about the story. I wanted to go out and experience. I wanted to know if I'm on stage, I know the character, right? So I can maneuver, I can get out of tight scrapes because you will forget your lines. But it goes back to what Miss McAfee said to give me the freedom. If you can justify it, it's correct. So everything I do informs my storytelling as a whole. I want to make it make sense because that way it makes sense for the people that are giving me the opportunity to share with them.
Okay. So that's like the logical side of how her statement inspired you into the careers that you've gone into. How did you come back to apply it creatively to write your poetry collection?
Now that was a different impetus. It was the death of my mom. My father passed about 2.5 years before my mother. And we were cool, but there was just a difference. And so even though I felt like a piece of me was moved away to a different place when my father died, it was way different when mom passed. It was like I had to almost reset and unplug because the connection to life itself had been removed, right? My mother died in my arms. I took care of her until she died. So I didn't feel, not that I had anything to prove before, but I just wanted to give her and do the best for her while I had responsibility for her. And when she passed away and I really realized it, it was this moment of, I don't owe anybody anything. Like I've paid whatever it is. The freedom of that allowed me to be more creative, to write the book, to take poems. I've been writing poems since, Miss McAfee, so 20 plus years, but it allowed me to say, I'm okay to share this with the world because I don't really care what you think about it or not. And I take it back to what Maya Angelou said. I know why the caged bird sings. So the question is, why does the caged bird sing? And she answered the question later and she said, because it has to. Mm. And that was the reason why this was written. I can share this. I can be, and I don't have to prove to you this is why. Nor, kind of flying in the face of what I learned with McAfee, nor do I even need a reason for doing it. I'm doing it because it feels right.
I want to go backwards before we go forwards because you said so many good things. You said you've been writing poems since Miss McAfee's class, but it wasn't until after the death of your mom that you felt, okay, now it was the time and you had the freedom. So why do you think you never felt free enough to pursue the creative side of writing until after your mother died?
I don't think that it was that my mother being here stopped it. We had an amazing relationship. My mother was not a stage mom. As you know, I did Nickelodeon. I did, I was on the news. I did all this stuff on TV. And my mom wasn't the mom that was like, oh, my baby doing this, my baby doing that, running around being stage mom. My mom, that wasn't her. Like my mom was the chick that was, okay, let's see what this is. Let's see, I'm here to support you, but I'm not going to coddle you or push you in any certain way. I think it was less the freedom and more that my mother's transition shook me so. My mother was like vegan and organic and alkaline and all the good stuff. And then cancer came. Ooh. I have to tell this, a quick funny story. But mom, before she passed away, as she was going through treatment, one day she was like, hey, I said, Mom, whatever you want, I got it. She's like, I want some oxtails. So I'm like, I can cook, I can throw down. Oxtails is a whole different delicacy, right? You got to tenderize and do all kinds. I was like, I ain't got time for all that. Let me find some oxtails. So I'm running around the city. But I'm asking my mom, I'm like, Mom, you're vegan. And so she said, she just looked at me and she was like, at this point, give me some oxtails. So, but I put all that in to say, I had been so busy taking care of my grandmother, taking care of my mother, trying to earn money, doing what I was supposed to do in those spaces of having purposeful movement. And I think it was the freedom of me saying, well, the only person I really have to take care of now is me. Mm. So it was a freedom to just be. And that being meant that when I showed my creative work, I could do it, that I don't owe anyone anything. And so it allows me to do all of these other creative things. Like I can't wait to share, the creative side of writing and maybe even producing, maybe bringing some great stories that haven't been told or maybe told in a different way to life.
So then in realizing that you owed no one anything else because your mom had passed, she had gone, and you had taken care of her to her last breath, and this book is a tribute to her, how did the poems first start coming to you to amass this collection?
So I probably have literally about 4,000, and I'm not being even liberal. I think about 4,000 poems, right? So the question then began, how do I go from thousands of poems over the years to a collection that makes sense, that talks about the movement that I wanted to go through, like all of these movements? I didn't write the poem because I wanted someone to say, oh, Rock, that touched me. Or it wasn't really to touch you. It was more to do what was supposed to do. Now, there's a hope there that in some way, shape, or form, that the poems included in the book would speak to you. It was like, I'm giving you this, and you may not see it. And that's okay. But it's important that I put this there. I look at the book the same way. This is a jewel. I know it's a jewel. I feel it's a jewel. I feel it's very valuable. But there's some times when we don't know the value of jewelry. So I'm going to show you my jewel and let you see it and show you and reveal its brilliance to you. But you may never get it. And you know what? That's okay, because I've shared with you.
That is beautiful. I completely understand where you're coming from when you're saying, it may not be for everybody, but you have to give yourself permission. You talk about the paring down those 4,000 poems into the movements of the book, and you have the sections living, loving, and letting go. What did you want the mood of each of those movements to be for a reader as they were coming to your work?
Freedom. Freedom was the name of the game. I didn't know it until afterward. Like Oprah said during the Legends Ball, love is in the details. Love is in the details, right? That's the process I went through with the book. Like I knew from the beginning, I wanted it to be only certain poems, right? I knew I wanted it to be a hardcover, right? I knew I wanted it to stand the test of time for that reason, for me and for these poems. I knew I wanted it to be accessible everywhere to everybody. So it was a year of painstaking work of making sure the right publisher, making sure I had the right distributor, making sure that the art was just right and the details were on and the quote was on. I initially waited, I'll tell you this, I had a chance to spend some really, really close time with Sonia Sanchez. And I begged Auntie Sonia to write my foreword. I was like, oh my God, you gotta write the foreword. You gotta write the foreword for the book. I need it. And she was just like, don't nobody want to hear what I gotta say. Like, I just, she was,
She's Sonia Sanchez. Like, everybody want to hear what she got to say.
So eventually she didn't write the foreword, and I ended up getting something written by someone else, which I'll tell you the story about that in a minute. But it was all of those details, right? And it all started just coming together. It was freedom. I wanted us to be free to live, right? Be free to live fully. For me, they inspired me to be free to live fully in all the spaces and places and doing all the stuff that I was doing. For loving, be free to love. Because like when we say love, we be like, whoa, we get a little, it's such a loaded word. We try to just think love as this one thing. And love is so, it not only is it beautiful and maneuvering and meandering, but it changes from moment to moment. And then letting go. Attachment to form is, I say it and it's one of my favorite quotes when Audre Lorde said, love it as if it is forever, knowing that nothing lasts eternal. It's about letting go. Letting go of the construct of this is what life is supposed to be. Letting go of this is what a book is supposed to look like. Letting go of the fact that I really wanted Sonia Sanchez to write my foreword. And I had to release it. And I was like, but the book is still going to be the book. And it's done well. And I got to tell you the story. So at the back of the book, there's a quote on the back. Nico Annan, who is an award-winning actor. He's in Annan, right? Kofi Annan, former Secretary General of the United Nations. That's his like uncle. And he's just like, oh yeah, that's my uncle, whatever. But Nico is the most brilliant, insightful guy. So I'm going through the stuff and I'm like, well, Nico, I'm doing this. What'd you think about the book? So he told me what he thought. I said, well, that's pretty cool. I said, would you mind if I put that on my book? And he's like, put it on there. That's what you want to do. So I put the quote on the book. Maybe about a month later, Nico calls me and he was like, I picked up a show. I'm like, oh, congratulations. He was like, yeah, it's on Stars. We don't know how it's going to do. It's like, well, hey, he said, I shot the pilot. We did the show. Stars picked it up. We're going to see where it goes. A couple months later, my book comes out. He then calls to say Stars has picked the show up for the season. And then they are already talking about a second season because they were so happy. The show is what we now know as P-Valley.
Hey.
Nico is Uncle Clifford. It's so funny, not even funny, it's just purposeful. I needed him to do this. And then he ends up, after the book comes out, as the star of one of the biggest shows on the planet. And his quote's on my book. And so I'm just appreciative of flowing in the feeling, flowing in that when it feels right, do it. And we're all flowing in this wonderful season of abundance.
It's not only a wonderful season of abundance, it's a season of divine timing.
Yes.
First of all, tell Nico I said it's murder night in the Pink. But you talked about, this year-long journey of putting the book together and getting the publishing and the distribution and the cover and everything right. Let's talk about that part of the journey, because you are a self-published independent author independent poet doing this on your own. So what was that like for you to jump into that, I guess, those shark infested waters of self-publishing and try to find your way out?
Craziness. It's like I didn't know what I didn't know, so I did it. So let me tell you this. I was fortunate enough that I sent some of my stuff and my proposal for the book to a publisher. And they were like, okay, we'll take it and give you an advance, which is almost unheard of today. So I was going to do it. Well, Mark Little, who is a mentor of mine, and Mark is also an author. So Mark and I were talking, and he said, if you can do independent publishing and create a publishing company and do it yourself, you then create something that your family will hold to long after you're gone. And, I did some research, and honestly, I didn't realize the business of this business because I'd never done it before. And so I did the research. I wanted to make sure that I had good distribution, right? And so the distribution let me know that I could be in Barnes and Noble, right? I could be in Books A Million, but here are the steps I needed to take. So of course I had to do some stuff myself. Of course, getting a team together. A team is important. You cannot do this alone, right? So I had a team that was saying, hey, let's do this. Let's try this. Let's push this way. And before I even move forward, like it was part of that team that I wanted to evaluate the poems in the book. I sent them a manuscript of here's what the book is going to look like. What do you think? Here's what the art looks like. How does that look? I went through this whole process. It wasn't me just in a dark room by myself. I wanted to know, not because I would change it, but I wanted to get feedback of a cross section. So it was those ideas and then doing the research, and that particular distribution company, they worked for me. The learning curve was huge. Every step of the way, there were phone calls, there was frustration. So for those authors, the name of the game, and I know you'll agree with me here, is research, research, research.
Yes. So I have two questions for you based on that. First, what kind of people did you have on your team? Because even though I do a lot of things myself, I still have a team that I outsource things to. They're like, okay, I don't do this. I don't do this. I don't do this. That's where y'all come in clutch. But everything else I can kind of do. So who was on your team to get your book together?
I would reach out to Nico Hannon. Nico was my homeboy, so he was on it. Mark Little, my mentor. I would reach out to Mark and say, hey, and Mark you got to have people on your team who are willing to, I'm a strong personality. You got to have people in your corner on your team that are willing to tell you no.
Yes.
Who are willing to stand up to you.
And to challenge your point of view. Because especially as writers, you can get too close to the work. Yep. And so you need somebody with fresh eyes and fresh ears and fresh vision to say, maybe there could be a better way that you can go about this.
Who can shake you? I need somebody to shake me sometimes because I'm verbose. I'm moving and shaking. I'm doing a bunch of stuff. Sometimes I need someone who can just say, hey, breathe. Now look at it.
Yes.
Right. And the other thing with that is use all the tools and resources that are available to you. My cover designer, his name is Elijah Ahmad Lewis. So Elijah Ahmad Lewis stars on Motown on Broadway. He's Barry Gordy. He knows everybody in the industry. He's just a triple threat, dancer, singer, actor. So Ahmad, also his passion, besides being on Broadway, is graphic design.
Well, look at there.
But here's the thing. He's on Broadway. When would he have time to work on Little Old Rahman Johnson and Jackson Florida's book?
When there's an entire pandemic and Broadway is shut down.
Come on, friend. You better talk about divine timing. He said, oh, send it to me. Next thing I know, I'm looking at this cover like, what the? I'm blown away. And it was from the mind of Elijah. So utilize those tools and resources that are out there. You have that opportunity to, again, love is in the details. Don't rush.
Absolutely. And so, but you also mentioned do your research. And that was my other question, because not a lot of people who are offered a book deal will walk away from a book deal that came with an advance. Like that's like the holy grail, to be able to submit your manuscript and then get a book deal from a publisher that's offering money for an advance up front. Like not a lot of people walk away from that. But not only did you walk away from that, you walked away and decided to do it yourself and form your own publishing company so that you would have more ownership and say over your product. Talk about what that research process was like, and why you decided to say, even though it says self-publishing and you do everything yourself, that was the right way for you to go.
Mark Little, I would have to say that Mark is the one. I trust Mark with my life. I've known Mark since I was a child. He's done so much in his career, and I admire him immensely. And so when Mark said, if you can get someone, like you just said, to give you a deal, you can do this yourself. If it's that good, you can do this yourself. And so in that space, I then said, let me try this. So what the research process was like, I looked at distributors. Where do they distribute? I wanted it to be accessible. So that was my number one thing. Can it be accessible? And so Amazon was huge. Obviously, Barnes & Noble and Books A Million were the 900-pound gorillas, but I wanted Amazon to be the number one. The other thing that was important is an ebook. As a college professor, one of the things I know is that most schools are going to the ebook platform. So we needed to make sure that the book was also accessible electronically through Kindle, through Nook, through these other e-readers, Google Books. And so I wanted to make sure that that whatever distributor that I chose would be able to connect with all of the e-reading platforms. So I had this criteria that I put down to make sure that they were hitting all of these marks. The next thing is that I thought was affordability. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't having to pay a lot of money up front, nor was I charging an exorbitant amount for the book. And finally, because I knew that like my podcast had done well over in certain parts of Europe and parts of Africa, that I knew that there was going to be some international opportunities. So I wanted to make sure that the distributor would allow bookstores that if there were orders that were coming in through connects I had in Europe and Africa and other places that I may not even know about, they would have an ease of getting the material to them. And so using those criteria, I checked the box, checked the list. I Googled a heck of a lot, but I began to keep a notebook of all of the resources. And that was what got me through. Is there a learning curve? Yes. Are you going to be able to log on today and publish a book tomorrow? Probably not. But the beauty is, if you put the time in and give yourself the freedom, you can do it.
We've kind of talked about the book, but let's really talk about the book. So I want you to start by reading a few pieces. If you could read a piece from each movement, yes, that would be great. And then we can talk about the work itself. All right, Black and Published family. Before we get to the reading, a quick description of Rahman's poetry collection, Living, Loving, Letting Go. It's dedicated to his late mother and grandmother and talks about all the ways in life that we learn to live, love, and let go of that which we hold close. Here's Rahman.
My favorite poem is simply just poem. It's the number one poem in the book. It's just called Poem. Your lips glide over me like the finest silk draped over a polished marble pillar. You create in me the unexpected when you add your nuances to my substance. I am Zydeco music at a party on the bayou in Louisiana. I am a bata sounding the rhythm of the orisha in Cuba. I am the pulse in hip hop, Bronx, New York, circa 1983. I am the tongues spoken by grandma at the small wooden church in Augusta. I am the haunting voice of the high priestess, foreboding, yet beautiful nonetheless, reminding us to be us. I am all of these things and more when you possess my essence. When I was created, even during my evolution, I thought I would be destined to stay here, being exactly who I was, doing what I did, and just waiting. Right here, waiting for who knew what. Your breath of life made my existence manifest, and I tell the story. I am the grief in Mammy's heart as her child is ripped away from her bosom. I am the gaze of the new puppy as he looks at little boy, his new master. I am the clack of the thunder and the flash in the lightning as you hide under your covers. Fear me. I am the soft smile of the ancestor. No words. Who is closer than she knows to transition.
Mm.
I am the gentle tingle of love's first kiss. I am your poem. That piece is so like, I tingle when I read it because all of us have this poem, these poems inside of us. My belief is that, or my want, I did this because I had to, and when I wrote that, it touched me, but my want is that we will find our poems within and release them. Any questions, or should I
keep going? I'm gonna save my questions for the end.
All right. So this one is, as you know, I'm in the world of the academy, and so this member of the academy's professor was getting married and asked me to compose a poem for the wedding, and I was like, I ain't never did that before. Right? I was a poet. He was like, "Oh, you should do this. You should do a poem." And I'm like, how about this? I wasn't even friends with him. I was a friend of a friend. But this is the quote that he said that inspired this poem. He said, I want to invite the ancestors. I want everybody to be there. Even those that can't come, I need them there to bless this wedding. Mm. And I was like, that's so deep. So I listened to them. I went back, and this is what came about. So this is, I Call Them Forth from Loving. I call them forth. I call them forth. From yesteryear and over there, I call them forth. The nameless ones, the blameless ones, I call them forth. The leaders, the seekers, the creators, the beers, I call them forth. With drum rhythms of circadian synchronicity, we call them forth to share the moment. The two come as one and one, yet they stand as 10,000. They the ones who spoke to deities with unpronounceable names. They the ones who crossed and thrived. They the ones who cleared the landscape with their blood and laid the foundations with their words. They built monuments of their sojourn with their bones. They the ones who survived in silence. We welcome their essence from far and near. We welcome their presence and call them here to hallowed ground because we said so. Alafia, Akwaba, Kunjani, Jambo, Indinin Walechu, Salam. In every way, in every place, we celebrate because of you. At times, this unrequited love was an indicted love. This unsanctioned love was still sent from above, and that made it right. This unbelievable love, this unretractable love, this irreplaceable love is the liberation of life. Our celebration embraces your presence and the pith of your existence, and it all leads to now. In our tongue, we speak gratitude, thanking you for celebrating our blessing with your presence. Your work here continues as you return to the beyond. We rest well, embracing your teaching and your knowing and your loving and your being, knowing that we called them forth. And they came.
Ashe.
So the poem I'm going to do, the final for letting go, and if you have other questions or requests, I'll certainly adhere, is called The Hummingbird. My mom had a friend. Did you know Dennis Stewart? Maybe not, because I know you weren't from the area, but Dennis was a chef par excellence. He was always about using natural things and making not all the sugars and butters and all that, but doing natural stuff so that food could become medicine for the body. So Dennis, like my mom, always shopped at Native Son, right? The natural food store. And each time we would go, for some reason, he would be at Native Son. And so he was getting sicker, she was getting sicker. And of course, Mom died first, and a few days later, he passed away.
Oh.
And they were both trying to help each other to the finish line, which is so beautiful. But Dennis's last conversation with me was about was about a hummingbird. And so Dennis went on a holistic retreat to get the cancer out of his body out on the West Coast. And he said every day there was a hummingbird that would come to the window and would and do its little hum near the window. And he explained it to me, and I was like, wow. And it was almost as if the hummingbird was letting him know everything was cool. And so his way of responding, if you asked him a question, he'd say, well, the hummingbird said it would be okay. Mm-hmm. He'd say that. And so this is where this came from. And this is called The Hummingbird, a dirge for Mr. Natural. The hummingbird spoke gently to the high priest, letting him know that the time was coming. The priest was special and that he would use nature to create healing through food. Drinking sweet nectar, the hummingbird consumed the secrets of life, a life it had yet to behold, yet it knew. There were signs and omens in the space of being, and the priest could see them all. From the vantage of ascension, he started the journey of knowing and growing and evolving into the ancestral ether. While they, scared and afraid and worried, he knew it would be fine in time because the hummingbird said so. Holding the messages of love and connection, the priest prepared and the bird hummed. From temporal to spiritual, the hummingbird transformed into an interdimensional connection to there. The priest did his part on the journey, helping to prepare others on their way. Don't cry for me. See the journey. Let me be free, he said. The hummingbird said it would be okay. He did his preaching and his sharing and his loving until he heard the call. And with a breath and a nod, he embraced the pall. He ascended the throne that the hummingbird said would be there, waiting for him. His work there had finally been done, but the work over there had just begun. His loved ones presented what was left to Olokun, and she received him warmly. He soared. All was okay. All was well. Just like the hummingbird said.
Ashe, in gathering this collection and in your readings and what you have put forth in this book, Living, Loving, Letting Go, it's grounded in Black tradition, Black Southern tradition and African tradition. Was that your intention, that in doing it yourself and having the freedom to put it out after the passing of your mom, that you were going to root this collection in everything that you are as a Black man, as a man of African heritage who practices African diasporic religious and cultural systems and customs? Was that your intention in amassing this collection?
Absolutely. I remember once an agent told me, well, you're not like Black, you're Rahman. And I was so offended. I had to tell the agent, like, I am all of that. I am Rahman, but I am Black. I mean, because at the end of the day, my Blackness, my African diasporic belief and view is going to shape, it's going to show through whatever it is I do. You can look back on pictures in my junior high school yearbook and you will see me in an agbada or a dashiki, my kufi. And so I still have a closet full of African garments that I wear regularly now. But here's the thing. I didn't have to wear it every day because it was internal. So whether you saw me in a Hugo Boss, you may see the Hugo Boss, but baby, understand it's an Agbada hanging right up underneath it. You know what I mean? And so that part of me is always going to be there. I will always refer to African deities and talk about our system of respecting the elders. But yeah, it was important and it will always come out.
Yeah. And being intentional about venerating the ancestors, the Orisha, the elders, and paying that respect and having that deference, what do you think your mom would say about your collection, in that it's dedicated to her memory and to her spirit that still lives on?
I believe, I know I have my ancestor altar right there, so she's looking at me right now. I know she's smiling. I know she's proud of me. I know my mother, I don't want you to like think my mother was a bad mom because of what I'm about to tell you. But my mother never said, I love you. Mm. That just wasn't her vernacular. My mother was very stoic. She was a speech pathologist and audiologist. So all of her words were very crisp and very pointed. And she's very stoic. And so she wasn't one to say, I love you, but I never felt unloved. Mm. And so I believe that everything I do gives her ashe, right? I believe that the book, writing it, reading from it, telling stories, think about it. Think about the ita of the Orisha. Like when we think about that, the stories that are told means they're still alive. Mm-hmm. So when I tell a story about Ida Ross Johnson and I tell the funny things she says or does, she's still here. She's still here. So I believe, and I know without a shadow of a doubt, I know that she's smiling. She's not going to be jumping around, but I know she's smiling.
Okay. So let's go to the speed round before I let you go, because we could talk forever. What is your favorite book?
I'm going to give you the book that was life-changing for me, Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth.
Who is your favorite author?
Alice Walker. Ooh. Somewhere between she and Pearl Cleave. I love Pearl, but Alice Walker, Pearl Cleave, somewhere up in there. Alice Walker.
Who is your favorite poet?
Audre Lorde. Oh, Langston Hughes / Audre Lorde. I know. It's like having kids, because Audre Lorde is who comes to mind first, but Langston touches my spirit. And let's not forget the indomitable Paul Laurence Dunbar.
Amen. Little messy question. What is the difference between poetry and spoken word?
There's a big difference. Poetry, and I guess it could be messy. Poetry speaks to the soul. Spoken word talks more to the ear. And I'm gonna be messy with you. Some of my spoken word friends will be like, yes, and we are coming to go to the store, and I'm like, okay. What are you really saying? It's like that preacher. You all know, come on, you from the South, and you live the preacher, like, and you know, ha, cause we, I'm going high. You ain't said nothing. Now, it sounds good. You want to get up and run around the church and douse everybody in holy oil, but what have you said? What have you taught me? Not a word. So I tend to weigh poetry out a little more, and I believe that spoken word artists do have a great place, but I also think that poetry stands the test of time.
Okay. You are the first poet to give me a definitive answer to that question and engage my messiness. I have a little game in the speed round. It's called Rewriting the Classics. What's one book you wish you would have written?
That is huge. And I've never pondered that I wish I would have written. And I read an awful lot. Oh my God, Daniel Black, who is one of my favorite authors. Have you read Daniel Black? Mm-mm. So Daniel Black has this book, and he's actually a friend. He's a professor at Morehouse College, New York Times bestseller. Daniel Black wrote this book called Perfect Peace.
I've read that book.
Perfect Peace?
Yes, I have that book. I've read that book.
Girl, Daniel is the author of that book. I'm getting tingles. When I read the book, and I talked to Daniel. I know him now as a member of the Academy. I asked, I was like, how did you come up with this story? Like, oh my God. He was in the bank one day and he saw, and we've all done this. He looked over and saw this kid. He's like, oh my God, that is a beautiful baby. But I don't know what it is. Is it a boy or is it a girl? And that's how the story came about. It was brilliant. It was really brilliant. So I wish I would have written that. Yeah.
Yes, I remember reading that book and I was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And like, and this was maybe, because that book came out maybe 10 years ago. And so in this day and age where you have the conversation about identity and non-binary and what does it take? Is it nature? Is it nurture? Like that book touched on all of those issues then. Yes, that book is masterful. What's one book whose ending you would like to change? And how would you change it?
Probably, I guess I'm gonna be kind of like, chick lit and go to Terry McMillan and say, Waiting to Exhale. I wanted to see it like with more positivity. I really wanted to see that brother marry the sister, right? The brother at the end, the Robin had the baby for her. I wanted to see it end happily ever after. I wanted to see Savannah go on and be a super producer and not have to crawl behind a man that wasn't going to be for her anyway, but somebody who could celebrate the beauty of her being this amazing television producer and her get paid for her worth on being a producer and not have to give up being a woman and a mother and a wife just because she wanted to get ahead in her career. I wanted to see that character, Bernadine, get a man who wasn't trying to leave her or move her away. And like that, what was the Wesley Snipes character? Yeah. I would have loved to see them come together. Right? Because wasn't that an amazing experience?
Yeah.
Where they just lay in the bed. It wasn't no sex. It wasn't, I'm trying to get none. I just need to be here and you here and we here and this is us. So I just wanted to see a little more bold
happier
action.
ending. Yeah, happier ending on Waiting to Exhale. All right, and the last one book that you think is overrated. I know we being messy, but here we are.
The Catcher in the Rye. Because I read it and I was like, I wanted to be excited. I really, when I first read it, I was like, oh. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to read this and then go like, like this takes me off to kill people or something, and I read it and I'm like, this it? Is this what would cause you to kill people? Like, really? So I supposedly it's got these messages. I don't know. The Catcher in the Rye, it's a little much for me. I mean, I think it's completely overrated.
Okay. And my final two questions for our interview today. First, what's next for you? You talk about all the stories inside of you, the poems, the novels, all of these things. What's next?
Right now, I want to get this. There's one fiction and one nonfiction. I want to get those out. I am in the process of, I'm on the tail end. And I usually don't talk about it, but I'm on the tail end of my doctorate. So the majority of the focus of my writing is on this dissertation. But I am about 10 months away from defending my dissertation. So we are very close. I'm excited about that. So I don't think TV and film is over for me. I know that I'm just kind of getting back into the swing of things. But the stuff that was on my bucket list, I checked it off. The things I really wanted to do that I said, hey, I wanted to be the anchor. I wanted to do network news. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. I did it. So now I'm having fun.
And my final question for you today is, when you're dead and gone and among the ancestors, what would you like someone to write about the legacy of words and work that you've left behind?
His stories. His stories changed the world. I've always ventured to say that I want the work that I've done here to be able to leave this place better than it was when I got here, right? You know how sometimes when they say this person passed away and they give you a title, I don't want them to have a title. That's Rahman Johnson, right? I don't want to be Rahman Johnson, the journalist, Rahman Johnson, the anchor, Rahman Johnson, the dad, Rahman Johnson, the son, Rahman Johnson, the professor, Rahman Johnson. I am all of those things. None of those things define me, but all of those things compose me. But one thing that does is that I'm a storyteller. And I want it to be said that the work he did and the stories he told changed the world.
Ashe. Thank you, Rahman.
Thank you. This has been amazing. Oh, you got deep. You dug deep.
Big thank you to Rahman Johnson for being here today on Black and Published. Make sure you check out Rahman's debut poetry collection, Living, Loving, Letting Go. And if you're not following Rahman, follow him on the socials. He's at Rahman J on Twitter and Instagram. And Rahman is RAHMAN. That's our show for the week. If you like this episode and want more Black and Published, head to our Instagram page. It's at Black and Published, and that's BLK and Published. There, I've posted a bonus clip from my interview with Rahman about how he cared for his mother during her chemo treatments and the moments he knew he had to let her go. Make sure you check it out and let me know what you think in the comments. Next week, our guest will be Nana Nkweti, author of the short story collection, Walking on Cowrie Shells. I'll holla at y'all next week. Peace.